Inferno would fuel the flames of this fiery feud to open up the day here at DreamHack Open for. Ultimately, it would be Astralis who would seal the deal, stealing the map pick of the Swedes to start this series 1-up. Dust 2 is just around the corner and the ultimate test to see who will be making it to the upper bracket final. But before we get there, Maui and Potter are joining me to be breaking this one down. And Potter, although Fnatic really fought hard in those final rounds, where were we seeing the issues with that CT side initially?
Man, you know, I really liked this entire map from both squads, but you're right, Fnatic, their CT side, it was such a slow start. And I think that was the crux for Fnatic on both sides, actually, especially that pistol round. You know, I like the fact that JW, he gets loose, he gets into the groove of things, but you're not going to get away with shenanigans like that on the pistol round versus an Astralis. They're absolutely ready for any sort of gimmicky plays. This, in turn, left Broland all alone in A site, Crims all alone at Arch side. I just think that maybe if there were some mid-round adjustments coming out from Fnatic in those types of scenarios, it definitely could have pushed them a long way.
And speaking of those adjustments, I think we have to give them a little bit of credit here, Maui, from the Fnatic side, because, you know, initially on their first half, Astralis really had the advantage. So where did we see Fnatic making those key adaptations to end it on a more even scoreline going into the second half?
I'd say on the T side, one thing that they did really well was that they were able to get banana control and bracket control. It kind of felt like, in a way, Astralis may have taken their foot off of the gas in that first half. They kind of let Fnatic take banana over. Flusha, though, he just ate every nade. I gotta say, the damage was huge for the side of Astralis in terms of their utility. They kept bringing it up on the stats that were just kind of popping up, those fun little facts. Great stats, by the way, and that helps illustrate this picture that Astralis were actually destroying banana. It's like they were airstriking it every single round. But after a while, Fnatic said, you know what, that's gonna happen. We have to live with it. We're not, as long as we're not dying, we have a chance. And I think that the fact that Flusha was able to take that space allowed Fnatic a lot of options for the remainder of that T-side half.
And I know, Potter, you had a particular moment that you really wanted to break down from that Fnatic T-side.
Yeah, and it's exactly what Maui kind of alluded to as these air strikes that were going on this banana side. You know, I thought Fnatic, they did a fantastic job of accepting this banana tax that we kind of always talk about, is you kind of accept the fact that you're going to be taking a shitload of damage in the beginning of the rounds. And Fnatic, they seem to be okay with it. As you see here, they're pushing Astralis back, challenging them consistently. Take a look at Glaive. He's got to respect the fact that there's so many resources in this banana area. He leaves this A. And that's one of the strengths of Astralis on this Inferno specifically, is they have so much utility control. They're able to four-man stack very often towards this A. This leaves Device and Magus to try to hold off whatever's about to come. And this is where we highlight Broland. He was so fantastic on this T side of things, consistently finding the picks, but really working well off of the pressure that Fnatic were applying towards this B. So this was Fnatic showcasing exactly why their T side of Inferno is so strong. If we can go to the point of view of Broland, you're going to see him finding the timings, once again, having this pillar control and finding the lurk kill to initiate things off of Device. He knows he has to book it towards this B. All this pressure is about to come. JW, Flusha, Golden fighting the trades, really tight knit. And that was one of the things I really appreciate about Fnatic's T side. It kind of fell flat. Slow start on the CT side, but once again, a good look from Fnatic.
It has been, indeed. And of course, we're going to be going on to the second map. That is going to be Dust 2 Maui, a map that we don't normally see Fnatic having so much success on. They don't really play it, as we can see by the statistics here. But as you mentioned in the pre-game segment, Astralis did get beaten 16-2, no less, by G2 earlier on in the competition. So if you're Fnatic and if you're wanting to test Astralis, based on what you saw on that initial game against G2, where should they be focusing on?
I would have to say cat. The win condition for G2 in a lot of those rounds was their cat control, whereas a lot of teams on Dust 2 just kind of like to gamble 50-50 long, but Astralis' nade protocols at long are so good, you're almost always going to lose players from the T side coming out. So if you're Fnatic, actually just kind of work for cat control. Then at that point, you can go for cat execs like G2 did, or you can go for mid to B splits. As long as you have that space, you have opportunities and you have options. And that's exactly how Fnatic came back on the T side of Inferno. They're going to need a similar kind of game plan here if they want a chance on Dust 2.
Well, Astralis start off hot in our opening matchup of the day. We'll be going to Dust 2, and can Astralis take it into? Find out after this.
Fnatic may be in a little bit of panic station right about now. They lost their choice of Inferno, and they come through onto Dust 2 with a 0% win rate, having only played it 3 times. But as they mentioned on the desk, Tom, it's not as if Astralis are infallible, invulnerable when it comes to Dust 2. They have their own demons.
Yeah, the only worry for me is that the teams that Astralis seem to lose to on this map are like the likes of like Na'Vi and G2, where you're going like, oh, you know, only 2 of the best orbs in the entire world and like some of the highest firepower teams we've ever seen. It's like, sure, yes, they've taken L's on this map, but that's most of the time opponents picking it into them and a map that maybe they don't necessarily want to be playing as much as any other. In this case, we're looking at a map that Fnatic don't want to play and only let through because their other alternative is to get banged out on nuke instead. Like, at least with this map, they have a chance. I'm still going to put it heavily in the favor of Astralis, but I think if it had gone to nuke, I can see why Fnatic wouldn't want to go there, because I think the percentage win rate for Astralis right now is 93% in 14 maps played. Like, what's the point? Like, you're not going to win that.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal, definitely. So maybe the lesser of 2 evils coming out for Fnatic as it stands, but Astralis on the T side, a map that, let's be honest, many teams probably prefer slightly on the T side. It can have a lot of power. Will be coming straight out of long. Flashbang preceding the push. The charge is imminent. 3 smokes at their disposal as well, but good counter flashes tossed in. Keeps the T's at bay for a few more seconds before JW gets splattered by Device. Device then getting flashed in the worst possible moment, just as he was trying to line up 2 CTs. A lot of flirtation, but not too much in terms of fragging here, Tom. But both teams agree to sign a ceasefire, and they back away.
The real worry for me with this map is that some of the time we've actually seen some fairly poor T sides coming out from Fnatic, and that's something I don't expect to see from Astralis, and more so their CT side rotations as well as some of the best in the world. So this is going to be tough for Fnatic no matter where they start. And well, with a pistol looking like it's going in their opponent's favor, I'm not feeling too comfortable. Look at the current position of Dupree. Like, just take a look at that and then explain to me how that's happened, because I want you to know that he's walked through the B side. Like, he walked through, had a little explore, and has then gone back round and joined the rest of his team. Like, at this point, they've got more information than you should ever have on the T side. And while Crim's alongside Golden, they're trying to reclaim some control. They found a kit. That's something. But if I'm being brutally honest, I think that might actually just be worth saving. And I don't know if they're going to be allowed to save.
Completely agree with you. 2v5 retake. I mean, there's not really too many options, are there? But Dupree nearly whiffing his opportunity. He will get one of them, and now Golden, who landed a pretty ridiculous shot towards the end of Inferno, has finally claimed the life of Dupree. Now walks back into the Lion's Den, and Magisk will devour him with the P250. Astralis take first blood again. The pistol goes their way.
Yeah, and this was a big problem for them on Inferno. Not necessarily losing pistols, because technically they did win one of them, but it was just the momentum that Astralis were able to build off the beginning of the maps. Like, the streaks that they had in that first map gave them the sort of majority of the rounds that we actually saw. So you never know, if maybe a pistol or the follow-up, the conversion comes in for Fnatic, we could have seen a completely different map, especially how close they actually managed to get it. When it came to buy rounds, they did relatively well. There's a part of me that thinks Brolin actually hit that initial shot in the air, which, oh, that brings me back, that's for sure. The problem is, in terms of the round, it really doesn't matter. They've already taken full control. Sure, there's been a bit of investment, and will probably mean that, again, we're going to see Fnatic just try and save what they've got. But Astralis, at the moment, they're making things look pretty easy.
Yeah, so far pretty comfortable. Flusher with a headshot onto Dupree. Definitely a player to watch out for. Looking through at the stats on the first map, although Magisk had a better overall rating of 1.33, Flusher was leading not just the overall kills on 24, but also the ADR with 94.1. And keep in mind on that T side, he was basically being bullied by grenades. So the fact that he comes out with that map with the most frags and the most ADR, even though his team lost, goes to show what an impact Flusher had, and definitely a player that will be picking up one of the 2 AWPs alongside JW as we move forward. The downside, of course, as Magisk gets blown up by the bomb, is that Fnatic will have a much later investment because of the fact that they've gone down 2-0 so quickly. So they're going to have to waiting till like round 3, round 4 before they can get any AWPs in play. And in that time, Astralis should pretty much have their way with them.
Yeah, the other thing as well is, like, you mentioned that he was getting wrecked by grenades. The main reason for that was because most of the time he was trying to play entry fragger on bananas. So to have the most frags in the map is actually slightly ridiculous. I do remember him getting a couple of eco spray downs, but even that I still don't think takes too much away from how much he actually managed to achieve. Of course, the main problem now is, again, Astralis are likely going to have a pretty decent conversion. They do lose a couple of players in the last round, one of them to the bomb. So that's some extra costs that have come in unintentionally. And they are now playing with purely rifles. So if Crims can get a bit cheeky around short, there is the possibility of stealing some weaponry away. However, at the same time, it means the chances of a round upset are slim, and while Crims doesn't quite manage to catch the timing, unfortunately.
I mean, not working out on a weakened buy on Fnatic. Crims already biting the dust, and Brolan maybe soon to follow. He is playing with fire down middle, but so far he's not been burnt. Still surviving with full HP and dishing a little bit out onto device. 40 seconds allocated now to the Danes. Again, device goes back in and Brolan repeaks one too many times. He has been bested. JW, a lot of damage to Glaive. Actually, with the USP, nearly silences him, which would have been a nice little take out of it, but it's unlikely that the round will still fall their way. The downside here is there is a flank coming in. Brolan, well, pardon me, it's Golden round the back, is now dropped Glaive, and with 13 seconds, Astralis scramble to the site. They will be able to get the plant forthcoming. There are just a couple of moments there, Tom, that got a little bit dicey for Astralis before they scampered away.
Oh, the main one is one of their AKs has been yoinked. Golden currently holding that, and he's trying to escape through the spawn. So that's a huge pickup for Fnatic, a free gun that they can bring in and may potentially even help them juggle around to get some extra utility, or even just drop the AWP over to JW instead, especially with the armor that Golden's already managed to keep as well. So it may not seem like much, and ultimately, to Astralis's point, it probably doesn't matter too much. Their economy's still going to be booming, especially with how clean they have managed to keep the last few rounds. But yeah, Golden having a free gun, and as said, like if they want to get JW and AWP early with Kevlar rather than the glass cannon he would have to invest into in this round, Golden can make that choice, and that's exactly what he does. So hey, that's a free win for Fnatic.
I think if this were later on and they knew that Astralis had AWPs and they had, full AKs, they may even have gone for 2 AWPs. Because they know it's going to be basically a bonus round and Astralis likely will get aggressive, they keep the assault rifles, plenty of damage early on. S-Attack finished off, but Dupree counteracts onto Golden, who was the assailant to kick it off, and now the flashes have subsided. Glaze suddenly notices that Crims has just stood out there. It comes out second best, second to the punch, gets punished, and Fnatic at least lead in terms of manpower, as the smoke's now being tossed in from Dupree to try and escape. But he is actually overstaying his welcome, forcing Crims in a position that you don't normally see CTs occupying in. Normally it's down in the pit. Flusher spraying through the smoke, gets mollied out of position again, but now Astralis, the utility belt has ran dry, and they've barely got any map control. For all they know, they're being flanked up through middle, which is probably the reason they're stuck in long doors. They realize the best way and the best course of winning this round is to just come out swinging and fight on long, try and take long control and convert into the round itself. But Fnatic are doing a great job of dancing around the bullets, dancing around the damage. 2 HP left on Flusher, who keeps going back in for these repeats. He's so aggressive. They line up and he gets one. He then gets nullified. But still, Crims is here. He's been sat around pit for so long. Somewhat surprising that Fnatic have not drawn out any more of these players from B or middle, having supreme confidence in Crims' ability to hold on by himself, and that's why he's picked up 2. And with those 2 kills, the round surely will follow.
Yeah, there's not even enough time for Device to do anything here. That is hands down the longest battle for long I've ever witnessed. Like, that was a minute and a half of just 2 teams trying to kill each other and ultimately failing for the longest amount of time. I also like what Flusher does there. He switches his position up so many times that when it comes to actually trying to clear the second player in pit, they think they've still got another player to clear on a closer angle because, well, why would you think that both players ended up in pit with the musical chairs they were initially playing? So I don't really know how that worked for Fnatic. I think, as you said, like the fact that nobody gets rotated in showed how confident they were in that situation, but I definitely didn't feel the same level of confidence. And while if at first you don't succeed, try again. Dupree spamming through the smoke. He's got S-Tank to support him. The push coming up from Magisk as well. And this time, Fnatic aren't quite as lucky.
Well, this time they have been punctured. Last time, remember, I think they had 1 or 2 scouts. So they did come in with some pretty conspicuous weaponry. Now they've got AKs, they've got an AWP. So a much more powerful purchase. Astralis still with 2 smokes for the cross. Flusher may be called upon, and he has JW just behind him with the AWP. Do they go in for the wide peak? They do, but Device misses his chance. He's tagged down to 22 HP. Good flashbang tossed in, looking for some counteractive grenades, and now the smokes have been put into place. It's a disjointed attack, though. Still with Device pushed to the back of the long side. Wants to get into position with his AWP, perhaps. Maybe is just running back into the Molotov. Gets weakened and softened so bad that one bullet from Flusher through the smoke silences him finally. What a strange round this has been. Astralis finally get the plant. It's a 3v3 retake, and Brolan already up on the catwalk side is looking for some aggression. Runs straight through. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Now JW, the weakened player from earlier, boosting up Flusher, who comes in with a headshot, and Device, 22 HP to his name, who's found his position on long, but the bomb is not planted for him now, Tom. If they just stick the bomb, he should have this dead to right. And Device has been headshot back from Flusher. They have a kit, they have time, and Fnatic will have a second.
Yeah, I agree. They probably could have just defused that, but I like the fact that they go, okay, if one of us peeks him and fails, we probably lose the round because he's just able to deny the plant because of where it was positioned. Whereas they look to fight him together and, well, they make it look fairly easy in the end. I have to agree that these last 2 rounds have been really, really weird. Like super messy problems where like players are getting stuck. The Molotov, I think, actually spread up the side of the wall because, you know, that's how that works. And Magisk gets caught out. Fnatic had 9 rounds without a full buy on Inferno. This is something that we mentioned. Like that they had some real issues with their economy. And when it came to actual buy rounds, I do think that they looked pretty decent. The problem is Astralis did a very good job of basically dampening their economy throughout the entire match. It's good to see that this time Fnatic don't really have that same sort of excuse. Like they are going to get the investment in. They've got the AWP already, and I imagine there's probably a second one on the ground as well for JW. The only worry really with this sort of round is if we see maybe a faster play coming out from Astralis. They do only have pistols, and with 2 AWPs potentially to find, hey, that's another couple of options for clutching.
Oh, no doubt. That pretty much is the best counter, especially in situations like this, is just raw aggression against AWPs and basically overwhelm an AWPer. Downside for Dust too, though, is if you want to go for like a fast B hit or a fast long take, you are susceptible to lining up and getting collateral killed from the AWP. So you do need to tread lightly if that is the call. This catwalk play would make a lot more sense. They have 2 smokes. They can even drop down into CT. The best case for Flusher is he can land 1 shot before they drop, but Crim's position here is paramount. If they do drop in, it will be the M4 up close and personal, and a good HE tossed in just before. Not just softening them up, but actually slowing them down. It makes it harder to drop down when a grenade lands in your face. It actually kind of stuns you for a second, and you're seeing the result take shape. Smoke put down just to keep them alive as they go for the plant. So this really is the best possible scenario for Astralis. They got a post plant. Maybe they can whittle away some of the economy on Fnatic in the time being when they have to come back onto the site again. Plenty of kits and utilities, so it's unlikely that we see anything significant happen. Good shot onto Flusher with the Deagle. Glaive up close, but Brolan's AUG is too quick on the trigger. He transitions into 2, but he has been put down. It's just 1 casualty on Fnatic. They'll take that outcome. Maybe a bit disappointed at the bomb plant, but they didn't set up to really deny this.
Yeah, and that's something that I think we can always come to expect with a fast, short play. is that a bomb will likely go down. So I don't think Fnatic are going to feel too hard done by it. Also, if you just look at the amount of money that Astralis actually have and minus $800, it doesn't really change things. They still would have had an investment here. Maybe a flashbang or two would be missing, but it doesn't make an overall difference. It does mean the device can get utility alongside his AWP, which is nice. But Fnatic would have been prepared to fight up against that anyway.
How quickly Dupree hops into pit. This time Fnatic, no interest in contesting long. Instead, they get aggressive middle. Flusher going in with the AWP, looking to take the fight to Astralis. It's a play that is a bit gimmicky in the sense that you won't see it used too many times this half. They keep Brolan alongside him, or actually, pardon me, it's Golden, to watch tunnels. And that's the outcome. They get the pick onto Essetag. Glaive, thinking about peeking, decides better of it, knowing that he could be next in line for the chopping block. If the AWP rings out ahead of him, he spots Golden going for a couple of taps. They now realize 2 players were in middle, and the information they can gather from that is it's unlikely that they have too many on long or on site itself. They have to draw those 2 players away from Catwalk back onto the site. A beautifully placed incendiary, though, keeps them at bay. They can't make the most of that momentary weakness, and now the nades are being flung just behind the smoke. So many players in close proximity, and it will be Astralis that start to edge a path towards the site. 35 seconds, Brolan using the gap in the smoke, but it ends up being his tomb. Glaive sprays him down through the aforementioned smoke. JW also stuck behind it. They'll feel like this wall of smokes has been there for about 5 years as it stands, and now that Crimson's got a kill, maybe they can get themselves back into this round yet. Post plant falls upon JW, but he's basically stuck. There's no way out other than fragging out against Device, who is looking up on Catwalk, flicked down and misses his shot, gets punished, and now the CT's back in this. JW connects one. Dupree at the back of the site has to spray in, but on low HP, he has no room for error, and he's only landing frags before JW posts up the round-winning moment. He has time for the defuse, even though it was a little bit dodgy. I think he got a bit sweaty for a second there, but Fnatic will take the lead.
Yeah, definitely a bit more close than I really considered it would have been. I really love the counter utility that Fnatic are using in the initial takes. It makes all of these fights on ramp so awkward for Astralis because they consistently get split up. Like what realistically you want to be doing is almost swarming the site as a group, having multiple players able to defend the bomb while it's being planted. But each time there's one player who's out on long, the other player who's just made the cross to the ramp. And Fnatic are doing that just with a couple of incendiaries that they're saving every single time. They really have been putting the work in on this map. I think it's evident already off to a pretty decent start here. And JW is going to nail the shot onto Magisk as well. A series which, after Inferno was done, and in Astralis' favor, I think many people, including myself, will have counted them out. But the start from Fnatic is something to be impressed by, that's for sure.
Oh, I'm mighty impressed. I've got to be honest, Tom. I thought Inferno was their only real hope of getting a map in this entire series. I think Overpass likely will favor Astralis. The fact that they're coming out so strong on Dust 2 and just smacking down Astralis, like not even looking like they broke a sweat in that last round. It was a clean sweep. Their economy building into nice shape, and Astralis back into a half buy from 3-0 to 5-3. Very impressive from the Swedes.
Yeah, and this time it's without that sort of early stretch that Astralis got. Like, it took a while for Fnatic to get these sort of buys on the board and actually string some rounds together. This time they've done it much earlier, and well, it seems like Astralis is starting to become a little bit of a broken record. We've now seen multiple players just try and make that play in towards long, individual duel after individual duel. Of course, this is only a pistol round. Basically, each player just trying to be a bit more of a hero, but from my eyes, at least, Vince, I'd rather see them try and group up and do something together. They got after plants previously by going towards short. Roland also has now found a few cheeky little angles around the edge of these smokes. Does look like he's going to be pressured, but there has to be a pretty tasty eek coming out from Dupree, and he does actually land the shot. Unfortunately, Brolan's gun is slightly bigger in this case. In fact, he even gets the spray back through the smoke.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tom. I'd like to see a tactical timeout, actually. There we go. Nice one, Astralis. The reason being is basically what you just highlighted. It feels telegraphed. Like, it feels like we're seeing so many long takes into a slow catwalk kind of control. Fnatic even making the raw read, the fact that they pushed Golden and Flusher up middle is a direct counter to the very play that they keep going for. So maybe Astralis will mix it up. They're second on round win percentage, opening kill percentage, second round force wins, and utility ADR at DreamHack open fall. Well, there you have it. I mean, let's be honest, they've got unbeaten so far.
Yeah, definitely maybe not as clean as they would have liked, especially with some of the maps along the way. And well, this is one of them. The destruction that came in from G2 on this map itself obviously didn't shake them at all because they have come into this and picked it. Plenty of other options were available, but with Fnatic's current win percentage, you can understand. It's always one of those things. Like, I never really put Astralis down as a team that picks based off counters. Like, they have such a strong map pool. Normally, they pick towards their own strengths. And let's be real. If Fnatic are vetoing Nuke to play into Dust 2, there's a reason.
That reason seems to be becoming more and more prevalent as every round passes. Dupree, a bullet through the head of Crims. One of the better starts that Astralis have had, and that seems like a strange sentence coming out my mouth, that we're getting excited over one kill to kick things off. That's just how dominant Fnatic have been these last 6 rounds. Bit more aggression coming up. 2 players aggressively through on long, and Flusher's dropped the bomb. He will not live to tell the tale, but do they expect Golden to also be up close? No! Estetag clearly not anticipating that, switch to his knife and gets caught in midair. And that intel that they would have gathered from the bomb dropping down allows Brolan to quickly wrap into position and constrict the bomb. Magisk at range takes the head off of Golden, but with 30 seconds, he still needs to retreat all the way around the side to flank into middle with no idea where JW and Brolan's positionings are. Now he knows where the AWP is at least. Smoke down to fend off one of those angles. Trajectory of the incendiary will let him know the second player's down on the tunnels, but he was always going to be coming out second best in that confrontation. And Fnatic continue their flawless 7-round streak.
They're almost playing like a buddy system, like similarly to what you see teams do on the T side, where you basically look for an opener and then you go for the trade off the second player. They're doing that on the CT side, which is not necessarily the most common thing, but it's why you're seeing moments where, sure, Flusher gets entry'd, but then Golden's there to return. It's the same on the B side, where one player goes down, there's a second player there. They're constantly playing this buddy system, and then maybe Crims is a bit of a lone wolf. It is going to be the push, a faster play in. A lot of damage done by Brolan, and JW, he's still trying to man this from the window. He has Crims to support him as well. He slams the remaining players into the ground. A triple for Fnatic, a half victory already. And well, over the last few months, the maps of Dust 2, I think the most rounds they've managed to get is 10. The majority of their games being lost 16-8. And in fact, in most first halves, they've lost them. So this is a huge turnaround for Fnatic. This is a different side of them, at least on Dust 2. And as of right now, well, we have to start looking at the players on the other side. Device was one of them I was going to mention. He's been deadly quiet so far. Normally a pillar of consistency with the AWP. And Brolan, the level of confidence just swings into mid, but he's given up B.
Yeah, as they lost the first player, he had to try and come and fill in the gaps in middle. In doing so, they've made the most of it. Big grenade damage. There's plenty of funds on Fnatic. They could justify going in for this. Trading up to all the assault rifles. Flashbang through. Here we go. 4v4 retake. Taking control is Crims. Aggression with the AUG, but Glaive and Dupree will lay them to waste. 2 of the remaining 3 terrorists perched over towards the tunnels and car. And Glaive will show his hand. Flusher, 10 kills already to his name. Setting up for some exit frags, hoping that Astralis go chasing him. But it's unlikely with their economic situation this poor that they would go in too hard on it. He gets a kill onto Dupree, and he also can just run away with the prize of the AWP. This has been another excellent round on Fnatic, all things considered. But at least Astralis have broke the curse, Tom. That's something to get excited about. They've got a round finally again.
Yeah, and they've completely switched up where the pressure is being placed. Like, I think that's fair enough. We've seen a lot of rounds where they've attempted to go towards long that haven't really worked. Fnatic have put a lot of initial control in those portions of the map. So now they're trying to change the pace and head into that B side a little more, where there's heavy reliance on not only JW, but Brolin. Now, he may be someone who seems to be an absolute pillar of consistency as well, but he is still the young gun. Flashbang into middle. It's going to force JW off the angle again. It seems like mid is the play, and the pace change worked out for Astralis in the last round. With the double AWP setup going a little bit quicker can work, and if JW continues to miss shots, that could be what they need. But there goes Brolin. Crims alongside him as well. And in a matter of seconds, this goes from a round looking good for Astralis to just Device.
Blended by Orgs. 2 on Crims, 2 on Brolan. And now Device, as you said, is the lone survivor. He has plenty of time to think this one over, to stew on all of his fallen friends, brothers. No quick flick. Golden will punish him. And I do want to just touch on a point that you raised, and I totally agree with you. It does feel to me that Device has been very absent in this game.
Oh,
like,
what?
Oh my god, it's through smoke as well. Oh no.
It all happened so fast. I think he even clips a wall there to kill one of them.
That's brutal. But we need to see more from Device here, Tom. Especially on a map like Dust 2. It's like all well and good if you're having a bit of an off game on Inferno. But this is where we need to see Device delivering. He has a scout as opposed to the AWP, but he's already had the AWP multiple times. And only has 4 kills and 44 ADR.
I think that nearly the whole team is. I think Magisk is on 5. I think there's another couple of players on 4. It's only Dupree. He's the only one to hit double digits on his side. Thus far, it has been all Fnatic, and at least in the early rounds, they were close. Like, we had that weird battle long that lasted an eternity, the close retake in the 2v1, with Device attempting to win it, but those close rounds have gone. And look how much utility Fnatic are using in the early stages of the round. They currently have 1 smoke, a flash, well, and even, I was going to say an HE, but that has gone as well, and they've expended almost everything with a minute left. Even looking to try and re-aggress, take control, constantly adapting, constantly changing, and Golden, clinical as ever. This is an investment as well from Astralis. They know they need to be getting rounds on the board, so they put some money into this. And while Device will finally get himself a 5th kill, retrieve a rifle for it, but his teammates are all but gone. Sure, JW and Crims are tagged, but can they make anything of this?
I don't think so, Tom. With S-Tag going down and 25 seconds left, Device may feel compelled to go for this because there's such a vast round deficit. And it's just got a whole lot worse. Fnatic already on double digits. Not only will they have a round and a half lead come the second half, but it's going to be a phenomenal one. This is more of an even keel map, I would say, Tom. I'm not sure if you agree, but I think it's like an 8-7, maybe a 9-6. Certainly not the potential 11-4 half of the CTs.
Well, if anything, normally you kind of edge it maybe a little bit over to the T side.
Right,
And
yep.
this level of confidence from him has been ridiculous. Crims, he's going to get overwhelmed. It's looking like maybe a 5th will come up here off the back of some hero individual plays. It's only the 2 AWPs that remain. I say only with a big pinch of salt, because there hasn't been a weak member of this Fnatic roster. I mentioned that it was only Dupree who had made double digits on his team. On the other side of things, it's only JW who hasn't, and he's 9-3.
Normally, you have Astralis with a 4-2 advantage. You favor them. But I've got to say, my gut's telling me this could be a Fnatic round. You look at the positions of the Ts. The bombs still drop back at spawn. Probably another 15, 20 seconds before they start to pick that bomb up and head towards a site. Only 2 smokes for the cross. Oh, they have been spotted, though. Downrange. It's Device and his scout that rip out for 1. In come the CTs, but this is where aggression will work against them. JW picking up 1. Knows the secondary player was seen in tunnels, and now he will be running across towards the long side. They still need to go back and pick up that bomb. They still need to make the most of that, and in doing so, they've put an awkward smoke down. There are gaps in this smoke. JW is using that smoke to his advantage, and if he comes out the other side and takes Dupree off, this could get really interesting real quick. JW waiting for the time, but can't quite connect the dots. It will still be 10-5 to the Swedes come the second half. We'll see if they can battle back to take us to a 3rd after this break. A revitalized, rejuvenated Fnatic took the fight to Astralis on their choice of map. 10-5 at halftime with what many would argue is the best side to come. Astralis struggled and was submerged for large parts of that, but it did start with a 3-0, Tom, before the wheels fell off and Fnatic really awoke from their slumber. And now the Swedes are looking scintillating.
Now, this is something we see quite often now for Fnatic. I was a little bit surprised to see it the first time, but Golden buying a Deagle. He's looking to try and take those battles at range. Normally, you might see a P250, maybe even a Tech 9. This man's gone all in. Not going to see the battle for long, though. 3 players currently waiting with the CT side. S-tag, clean as a whistle. And, well, there's only going to be 2 players remaining. Pistols have not been a friend to Fnatic so far in this match. And it's looking like we might get a repeat situation once again, unless Crims can ace.
He's got 2 already. Now, the downside for Crims is he has no control over the bomb. At this kind of range, 2 USPs should be more than good enough to suppress him. Also, Glaive is making moves up catwalk, so if Essetag and Device didn't get the job done, it's likely Glaive would. It's a nice try. But Fnatic ultimately will stumble on the first hurdle in our second half, and Astralis have a chance to build themselves back into this. It was a good hold. Essetag with some clean headshots with that USB, and then finishes off with the 3K.
Yeah, this is the problem. Like, because each half will seemingly just begin with Astralis getting a huge amount of rounds, Fnatic always seem like they're on a comeback. Now, the last half was unbelievable. Like, when it got to the rifle rounds, they were by far the better team. And I like the fact that we are witnessing them actually save their money here. They're not going for any risky forces, even though a bomb plant's actually not that difficult to get when it comes to the map of Dust 2. Like, you can easily get these pushes onto short, which allow for a bomb plant. In fact, they've even stationed Device there just to try and deny it with an M4. But the fact is, making sure they have AKs as soon as possible is important for Fnatic. And while Magisk, this is a farming exercise, a chance to really make some money. Golden will put him down, but there's 2 more players ready and waiting. The bomb dropped and Flusher, wow, he gets a ding, I suppose.
Consolation damage can build that ADR a little bit, but ultimately it falls on deaf ears because Astralis off to the races in our second half, converting the anti-eco. They don't have any early AWP or scout in play, but neither do Fnatic. A lot of teams will opt in for the scout second round. So interesting to see the difference here on these 2, and it will be aggression. We did say that in terms of nade protocols, Astralis have an exceptionally good counteractive blockade they put into place, but Flusher getting up close this quickly, dispatching of Device puts Astralis on the back foot already, and it's not as if their economy's been booming that hard. Haven't really had a chance to do so. Flusher goes in with a second one. One of those smokes does get blocked though, and now Glaive can try and spray in for some more. Golden at range with the AK is feeling confident as he tries to tap in for more frags, but it will be Brolan wrapping around the back of the CTs that can just finish off the rest and reap the rest of those souls. Astralis, their mini comeback has came to an abrupt halt, it would seem. Unlikely that Dupree can get anything done from down in tunnels, and Fnatic back into winning ways.
Do you know what, Vince? I think if I'm Fnatic right now, if I'm the organization, I'm going to be asking the players, like, realistically, how much money do we have to pay you to stay like on land together at all times? Like, how much would that cost? Because a team that we've seen over the last few months when they've been playing at home to now them playing at a boot camp, they're a different roster. They're not even the same team. I feel like it's different people. Like, maybe, you know, they talk about like the lizard people, like conspiracy. This is people that have taken over Fnatic and are performing at a completely different standard. They've been fantastic this entire tournament. And at the moment, they've looked like by far the better team in this map. The scoreline, well, that's mainly because of both pistols going the way of Astralis. Pull out the checkbook, Fnatic. Just give them what they need. I want to see this team all year round.
A return of Swedish CS at the very top, perhaps. As Dupree tagged and fragged through the smoke. This was a full investment as well. It should be highlighted that Astralis not into a save. This is all their savings. All of their funds depleted. And only Device really standing for any longer. S-Attack sprayed through the smoke, and Device now trying to save on long. And with Fnatic knowing this was a force buy, knowing just how poor their economy is, you better believe they hunt them down. There is no way that Device goes unchecked on long. Look at how many of these T's are already pushing in. And even if he gets this first shot onto Flusher, well, now they know exactly where he is. JW is watching the back. There will be no escape for Device. No retreat, no surrender, no mercy shown. 12-7.
It was a small break. I thought maybe the halftime might give a slight chance for the Astralis boys to wake back up, but the fact is half the kills they're losing out to, I don't even think there's much you can do. Like, one of those was just a spray that went straight through the smoke. Golden has spent 12 minutes of DreamHack open flash blinded. Or full blinded by flashbangs. That's ridiculous.
I love the Flash Gordon reference as well, by the way. Do love that. I'm showing my age, aren't I?
I decided not to read that out, I'll be honest, because I wouldn't have been able to do it without the actual song.
Right.
And obviously with everything going on at Twitch at the moment, I'm not sure I want to even try, because, you know, my singing voice is obviously that good.
Yeah. You nail it, obviously, yeah. Our Freddie Mercury over here.
Yeah. I will.
Oh.
Okay, see you later.
It's another force buy. Oh no, Astralis. They are getting absolutely mauled. And this time it's the MP5. We saw Burrup use this yesterday. And now Flusher getting some style points and indeed styling on Astralis. He's not slowing down. He's not been satiated. His bloodlust is still very much out there. That hunger still needs to be fed. Flusher could even go on for the ace. He's been denied. Actually, it wouldn't have been the ace because JW picked up a frag earlier on. And our Device is trying to hold on to a Deagle and Kevlar and eyeing up the very real possibility of a 13-7 in Fnatic. And it's not just possibility, it's now a guarantee. It's been locked in.
The weird thing with that gun is I feel like people always get the headshot on like the 6th or 7th bullet. Like it's never the first one. It always just seems to be after they've sprayed for a little bit. It corrects itself after a while. Flusher, though, clearly having some fun, making some extra money, up to 19 kills. The only man starting to sort of get away a bit from what was a very even scoring half of the majority. And now, unfortunately, Vince, is where we've had to see the eco come in for Astralis. So unless they pull off a miracle round with straight USPs, which, well, if we had any hair, it would be torn out if that was the case. This is going to be 14. And I have to say, this is not what I expected. Like, all jokes aside, like talking about how things have gone and like the weapons that we might not expect to see, Astralis picked this map. And they are currently getting battered. They have managed to, however, take away some weaponry in this round and potentially could even juggle a second gun over. Fnatic obviously being a little bit careful because although this round is still theirs, the chances are it's not going to get away from them. You don't want to hunt now, lose an extra player and end up in a 2 versus 2. So they're going to start slowly making their way forward, try and get rid of these extra weapons. For their economy, they're absolutely fine. And considering that they're so close to the victory, if they even lose another weapon here and manage to take both out, that's fine.
Oh, they'll happily make this trade, no doubt at all. As you said, more than enough funds to replenish any of these fallen weapons. Whilst you're taking a little bit of damage. Crims spotting both the remaining CTs. They're living on borrowed time, and Crims will collect. The debt has been paid in blood. 14-7, Astralis with their last chance. The curtain begins to come down, and we've still not seen what Device has to offer on this CT side. Maybe this is the moment, Tom, where he springs into action and we see a second wind.
Oh, I sure hope so. For some reason, I've just witnessed a picture of myself edited onto Freddie Mercury. I don't think I ever want to see that ever again. Thank you for that, Elliot. I hope that doesn't reach the stream, but we'll see. Roland. How many kills are they going to get through smokes? Like, Glaive tweeted one after the last map. We've seen a fair few in this one. JW, that's a surprising miss. I thought that was an almost certain kill. The fact is, even with JW managing to survive, they're still in a hugely advantageous spot. And his role in this situation is just delaying any rotation. The rest of the team is still pushing and probing into long, taking slow control, while the CT's adaptation is to claim short. It's what you need to do in these situations. Don't allow a full split to come in onto the A site. Force them into just challenging for long. They're even going to have to boost back up onto the site. But the fact is, as of right now, Fnatic, they're actually retreating back a little bit here. They've given up that control. Now, bear in mind, Flusher is still lurking on the other side of the map. And if they were to go towards B, well, let's put it this way. Magisk needs to hit his prime form if he's going to manage to survive this one.
May not be called upon though, Tom, because now they're moving on to Catwalk. Device with one, looking to try and funnel back. Gets an opportunity for another, but that's a perfect flashbang from Flusher. And that could be the beginning of the end. Glaive caught out in the open. Dupree now back against the wall, quite literally. And he gets headshot down, splattered. Fnatic looking good to have a bunch of map points. They do get the bomb down with 5 seconds to spare. And he talked about Magisk in prime form. It's been anything but in this map. He's down to 8. He has to save. Actually missed the AK-47 as well. Ouch. Missing the shot from JW, and he should be missing his life. 15-7, 8 map points on Fnatic, with Astralis' map pick nearly going away from them.
Hey, lesson learned. Don't pick +2 versus Fnatic, even if they lose it 3 times in a row and only manage 10 rounds once. I come like that's the thing. I almost feel like if you're an analyst in this situation, which thank God I'm not, they haven't won this map in the last 3 months. They just lost their own map choice, and then they come in and they're winning 15-7 on a map that, granted, hasn't been amazing for Astralis, but it's still been an all right map for them. It's Astralis, for God's sake. Current #1 team in the world. One of the best rosters of all time. Not in this match. Getting battered. Device, though, could at least get something here. Roland is so low that this has to be a free kill. The problem is this is not the take. That's the fake. This is the man trying to cut off rotations. Dupree, he needs a hero play, and he only gets one. The trades from Fnatic are so fast every single time. And Vince, they've got one last chance. They need to make the retake work.
One last chance with an MP9 and a UMP, but the UMP ripping through Flusher. Glaive gets caught while trying to upgrade his weapons. And now in come the CTs, but it's Crims that locks it down and lands a 23 bomb in the process. An exquisite comeback from Fnatic, and we head to Overpass for our all-important decider.
I don't know how they do this every single time. They lose their own map choice and they manage to win ones. We saw this versus OG as well, where it's like, oh, you know, they've lost Inferno for the first time. That probably means the series is done. And then they go and win a map that they just don't win. And they've done it here again. It's probably the reason why the desk predicted them. It's probably the reason they've been one of the most inciting teams to watch in this entire tournament. And while we're going to give it back to the desk now to try and explain to me and everyone else what on earth just happened.